So the agenda today is an overview of Risual and our experience, and then an overview into e2e and their experience, and the relationship between the two. We're going to go through government context and why we're talking about this, and driving the cloud, and then securing your cloud journey. So who are Risual? Risual's a Microsoft, we've actually won Microsoft Partner of the Year 2015. We're a pure play Microsoft partner. We're not involved in any other competitors, which makes us a safe pair of hands for where Microsoft are concerned. But that's why we need to get involved with partners such as e2e that can complement the Microsoft services that we provide. So Risual, as I said, provide consulting and managed services to build and support innovative Microsoft solutions. Our vision is to try and help customers realise full potential from their investments in Microsoft technology, be that an EA agreement or just licensing for certain products. We're a Tier 1 Microsoft partner and have been successfully UK Partner of the Year finalist for the past 3 years, and as I said before, won Partner of the Year in 2015. Our business is split into two different sections. We have our consulting services, which are split into two, business and technical, and then we have our services department, which provides all our support and managed services. Our business consulting team is more strategic, looks at engagement management and architecture, working more with the business and IT to make sure that the two fit. And then our technical team is split into practices that align with the Microsoft practices of business productivity, UC and messaging, systems management, IT access and perimeter, and application development. In our Risual Support and Managed Services department, we have 3 different propositions. So we have our workload support, which is break fix, and then we have our managed services. So we have special managed services around Office 365, which can help maximise the investment that you've got taken out, which you've got out of taking Office 365 as a service. And then we have full managed services and per application managed services. In those include working with partners such as e2e, where we've got a proven relationship working with them with a number of public sector customers. e2e offer a number of different services around the security sector, and I'm going to hand over to Rob now to give you a little bit more information about what they're doing.
Hi, I'm Rob here from e2e, and we've also got Mark.
Good morning, everybody.
So e2e Assure, what are we all about and why are we here today? So as Stacey said, we've done a lot of work with Risual over the last couple of years, working together in partnership to deliver a single end-to-end service to customers. And where we fit in is in cloud and in cloud security. So the business was set up specifically to look towards cloud. So we deliver cloud services, but we also operate ourselves in a cloud fashion. So our business is very much a cloud-based business operating cloud-based services. So our proposition really focuses on a key vision, which is to help organisations, government departments, public sector, to get into the cloud and to benefit from the cloud, but do that securely. So we call that securely enabling your journey to the cloud. So it's a way that we can help you deliver a cloud vision and do it securely. And then the second part of that vision is that once you've made a business transformation, we can help you thrive in the cloud by enabling your business to be agile, adaptive, and all the things you want it to be, but by also keeping it secure and making you feel solid that you've got a secure platform in which you're doing your business. Just going back and to give it a bit of credibility, really, e2e Assure is quite a modern company, quite a new company, but it's backed by people who have been doing this for a long, long time. So that e2e grew out of a huge amount of experience across all sectors. And what we really did was took all that experience and put it together into e2e Assure and our cloud services. So what do we do? So we talk about cloud services. All our cloud services, so the cloud services we provide through G-Cloud and elsewhere, are fully managed, whether it's an infrastructure service or a fully managed software service. We like to fully manage everything. We produce and sort of deliver ultra-secure private clouds, so that's our niche. So in our own cloud offers to you, it's a secure private cloud, but we're not exclusive. So if you've got other clouds, we manage your equipment and security in pretty much any cloud, whether that's your on-prem cloud, a Microsoft cloud, another public sector cloud, another private cloud provider. We work with many, and it may be a combination of those things. So we've also got a set of services which we identified a need for a couple of years ago, which is when you've got sort of cloud solutions, it's quite difficult to connect to them securely without buying lots of solid links. So we provide cloud connectivity services, and then we've got cloud security services, and these last two will work in any cloud. They're cloud independent, and they're about making sure we're doing the right levels of security monitoring to give you assurance and confidence with the cloud services that you're using. And then finally, we manage kit in the cloud. So as Stacey says, where we fit in well with risual is that we do the not Microsoft bits of the infrastructures, lots of Linux, Solaris, and all the odd bits, as well as managing infrastructure, components, storage, network switches. That's all our bag. And the assurance side of things, we've got a lot of people here who have got lots of experience, and we offer lots of advice. I think at the end of this webinar, we're going to offer some of these workshops out for free, where we can sit with you guys and help you think about what your security concerns may be, what sort of threats you might be facing, and to talk to you about how to look at using risk analysis to make suitable assessments on your journey. So to back that up, really, we've got the right kind of qualifications from CSG, like class consultants, and CCP, which is CSG certified practitioners. And that's quite important for government to make sure that people are giving the right advice. And then finally, we've got some professional services which we can use to build your clouds and design them with you. So why clouds? So what we're trying to get to now is that why is the cloud exciting and being talked about still? And it seems to be gaining momentum all the time. So there's two viewpoints really to start from. One is the business. So what might the business think? Why won't they want to talk about we want to move to cloud? What's a business driver? So the obvious one is that they see there's a cost reduction or potential for a cost reduction, or at least better value somehow. How does that, why do they think that, if you like? Why does that associated with cloud? So one of the key things about cloud services is they should be ready to go, immediately consumable. That provides value because we're not waiting lots of time to design, build and test things. So if a business wants to build a new IT system, traditionally they'd go away and design it all, do some requirements work, do lots of exercises, bring in lots of resource to get somewhere. But with the cloud, it's ready to go now. So they've jumped that phase, they've skipped it, so they've saved themselves a lot of time, and time is money. And also there's other advantages such as pay as you go. And only consume what you pay for. These are really important concepts, so that you're not paying for stuff that you're not using, and also you're paying for it monthly, and you can get out of these contracts quickly. So there's a lot of business advantages to cloud services that are not just about the technical bits, but they're very, very commercial. And it's a very good procurement mechanism. And platforms like G-Cloud really help streamline and make cost-effective procurement possible. One of the things that's probably not obvious that people may think a business may choose cloud for is security. A lot of people think it's the opposite, but actually from a business point of view, they can see a lot of advantages to using cloud services because they should assume to some degree there's been some level of assurance on that cloud platform that they're getting and not doing themselves. But we'll get to that later. For the techies amongst us, hopefully there is some lure of the cloud. There's some rapid access, there's some power in there, some compute power, and generally there's lots of great technology in there. And also they can offer services to departments which can scale on demand, which would be traditionally quite difficult. Why public sector cloud? So why is there this big drive in public sector? Where is it coming from? And really it's coming from central government, this agenda, and it's been around a while now, and it's a strategic one. You've probably heard the term cloud first, and you've seen, I don't know if anyone's seen the government digital strategy, but going back to sort of GDS really, who kicked this stuff off, and then coming in more recent years with G-Cloud, the digital marketplace, there's really been a strategic push for government and public sector to look at cloud. The cloud first means that you should look at cloud first, and if that doesn't fit your requirement, then look elsewhere. There's been a few things happening as well that's been driving that indirectly, potentially. It's not immediately linked, but the classification changes that we've seen over the last year, but actually 2 years ago now, where we have official being such a big tier, has actually enabled a lot of this move. That's one of the key things that's changed, that's made a big difference to this marketplace. That and G-Cloud, but also compliance has changed, the regime has changed. PGA is pan-government accreditation, and that's gone now. And things like the PSN, the COCO, has changed quite considerably recently. That's the rules of engagement to connect to that network. And what that means basically is that the government are telling you what you should be doing now is making your own risk-based decisions on what you're consuming and how you're doing it and how you're going about things. And they're advising that you should be doing best practice. Okay, best practice, risk-based decision making, selecting your own services based on your requirements and your security needs. So that's really quite a big change. And obviously there's the big one, which is the cost agenda, which by hopefully opening up the marketplace through G-Cloud means that you as a customer can get the best value for the services you're buying, because we're all competing for your business and you've got much more choice. There's much more supply out there of potential solutions. Therefore, hopefully that's going to save everybody money, save the taxpayer money. When we were talking about cloud, a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's a cloud and that's it, and it's in the cloud. That's what we're talking about. But really, for most organizations in the public sector, most organizations that aren't brand new, what you're actually talking about is a hybrid cloud. That's the reality when we talk about cloud transformations. You don't suddenly wake up after a weekend and everything's moved to the cloud. What you actually end up with is a hybrid situation. Whether or not you think you've got a cloud strategy, it's quite likely that you are consuming quite a lot of cloud services already. I read a recent report that says that the average government department consumes over 100 cloud services, because cloud services covers a whole range of things. Software as a service desk applications, billing applications, timesheeting applications, all those things can fall into cloud. And when organizations try and move and buy cloud service, what they're really talking about is a big mix of private, public, PaaS, SaaS and IaaS services, and all sorts of shades of grey in between, with users trying to connect to it all left, right and centre. So what that creates are some genuine technology challenges. So when you're moving forward in the cloud journey, moving things to the cloud, you're enabling cloud services, you're connecting them to your existing estate and your people and your users, there are some challenges that you're facing. And one of the key ones is trying to track assets and resources in the cloud, and how to connect to them seamlessly, and how to integrate your existing systems with these new cloud systems that you're building, and how to provide access to them for your users. So that can be quite challenging, and that's part of the journey, is that those challenges have to be faced. But you also get security challenges straight away when you start to talk about cloud transformation. You'll get a lot of mixed security messages from peers and people you speak to, who will sort of say, okay, well, really, you're going to do that? Is that really what you're going to be doing with this data? You might get a lot of negative responses. You might get some positive responses too, but you may get some negativity from security people and compliance teams. And technical people, people in charge of your IT may go, hang on, well, for me, what this means is a loss of control, because when we had this stuff in our data center or in our office, we could feel that we could control it. But with you moving bits and bobs into clouds, it feels like control's being lost. So the IT department will worry that they're losing control of their assets and their capability to deliver service. Security people and security teams at the technical level will worry about visibility. So when all your stuff's in-house and they've got security bits and bobs looking at that stuff, they've got a good sense of visibility. But as you move stuff out into the cloud, security people get nervous that they can't see the type of thing they can. the cloud services don't allow them to have the hooks in that they need to be able to do their job. And then fundamentally, the big challenge is the spaghetti design. And I sort of liken this to a bowl of spaghetti sort of thrown on a wall, and that's your network diagram. Lots of wiggly lines going all over the place, rather than a nice, sensible data center design that we're all familiar with, that we can understand it. Now we're saying actually our IT is spread about everywhere, and it looks like that. And those are challenges that we need to address when you're making a journey. So how do you go about consuming cloud services securely? What's our sort of advice to you if you're trying to move to the cloud, or you're already in the cloud and you want to make more use of it? Well, there's a really good set of government guidance out already available right now on gov.uk. There's a few of the examples here, but we can provide a better link after this webinar. There are some well researched and well thought out cloud security principles that are available that people should be doing, and cloud security guidelines. There's other little bits of advice like Get Safe Online, the 10 steps, and also not just gov.uk, but CPNI also have a really good 20 critical controls list, and there's all sorts of programs out there that you need to read and be familiar with, because what they're saying is that read this guideline, go away and think about it, and come back with a decision, with a strategy. You should also look for assured suppliers. So the supply chain is critical in cloud journeys, because for one reason or another, or in one way or another, you will be taking services from suppliers if you're taking cloud. So you need to be sure that you're looking at those suppliers carefully and understanding how they're doing things. And there's some big things you should look for from a supplier straight away. One is the credentials of the people they've got, and if they're class consultants or if they've got the right CSG certified professional skills. Are they G-Cloud suppliers? Have they been through some of that regime, which brings a bit of assurance as well? So there is assurance built into G-Cloud via way of assertions. So suppliers in G-Cloud generally have to go through these security checks and they have to tell you what their security is. And you should read their assertions. And you should look in G-Cloud and compare the security statements of suppliers and try and work out which one best fits what you need. And then they should have, or they must have really, ISO 27001 and Cyber Essentials Plus certificates for their business. So anyone doing business with government should have those things. Hopefully everyone knows what Cyber Essentials Plus is, but if not, we can send some links to that. And again, these new standards, it's quite important with things like the latest version of ISO 20001 and Cyber Essentials Plus that you look at the scope of those standards and make sure that the services that you're looking to consume are in the scope of those certifications. And really what the advice here is, look at all those things, put them all together, and make sure that you've down selected a set of suppliers who've got the right bits and bobs. So we like to talk to the cloud and say, actually, this is not a negative thing as far as security is concerned. It's actually an opportunity. Let's start to get excited now about the opportunity here that a cloud transformation can present to your business. So the new green field, so that's about saying, well, we've got a chance here to build a new infrastructure in a new way using new technology, and we can get it right now. So we can solve a lot of problems we've had previously by designing this strategy correctly and by putting in the kind of things that we know we're going to need from day one into that solution. And we could actually use that environment to gain compliance of our own. So what we're seeing is a lot of our customers in government wanting to get Cyber Essentials Plus themselves, wanting to have ISO 20001 themselves, because they want to be able to prove to other organisations they're communicating with, and potentially their customers and the public, that they're doing things properly. So a good strategy to do that is to create the new greenfield in the cloud and bring all those services that you want to bring. So a really good example is digital platforms that want to engage with end users, as in people, as in the general public, bringing those platforms into the cloud, making sure they go through compliance, Cyber Essentials Plus, and then you can confidently say you're delivering services that have the best practice security. And also, use the experts. Take this as an opportunity to get some expert advice into how you're going to do your security. It really is an opportunity, a cloud journey, to get a lot of things right. And you've probably got years and years of experience in doing things. Why not combine them into your cloud strategy and put all the good security things into it? So we're going to give you kind of an idea, a sample story about cloud journeys and how security concerns can arise, and then hopefully how risual e2e have addressed them in the past. These are quite generic sort of merges of various customer experiences. So the first thing we're going to start with is the goals of this organization. So these organizations have said, okay, we need to do a transformation because we've got a load of old kit somewhere that needs to be replaced. We don't want to replace it because we don't want to buy any more kit. We just want to buy some cloud services and stand up some new servers because that makes sense to the business. And they've chosen Azure as their provider and said, okay, there's a public cloud service, Azure. We want to build some Microsoft servers in there. And then when they've done that, they're going, okay, what would be next would be we need to link those servers to our key offices. So our offices can then, well, maybe we can start getting rid of some of the servers in the office because they're probably a bit of a liability now. And they also want to start a bring your own device strategy. So maybe they're looking at some other cloud services where they've got managed device, mobile device management in the cloud. They want to then use that to get remote access to various bits and bobs of services that they've got in the cloud, maybe even printers on premise and stuff like that. And they've also identified that as part of this journey, one of the key things they want to sort out is authentication. They want to move to a single sign-on provider, and they've identified a really good SaaS provider that they like to work with so that they can have a single sign-on. They can move through applications seamlessly, and it'll save a lot of their users' time. And they're also going to do a trial to see if they could have some office services out of the cloud because they've got SharePoint 2007 and they don't really want to upgrade it, or instead they're going to think, well, can we just get some services straight out of the box? So that's what the business wants. And then the security concerns come when they start documenting and moving forward on that strategy. So this is where we get to sort of the bones of the crux of the issue here. So security people will say, okay, I get that, but what you're doing now is you're creating many more access points or exposures. So you're opening up our internal systems and our offices and our other data centers to a lot more ways that we could get hacked. So we call that increasing exposure. Yeah, you're basically increasing the exposure of your organization. And then they're going to think, okay, so you've got data moving around the internet now. Yeah, to make this thing happen, you've got authentication packets and things talking across the internet. How well is that stuff encrypted in transit? So CSG have a lot of guidelines on how to do encryption and what strength you should be using. And we find a lot of services don't use those high quality algorithms and ciphers. So quite rightly, people will worry that the data is not properly encrypted as it traverses lots of networks. Also, there's a question of data at rest. So if you've got mobile devices and they're accessing that data and they're leaving that in a pub or something and it gets stolen, is the data on that device well encrypted so that someone who has access to that device can't get it off? These are really good questions, questions that you should be asking. And I think that last point, one of the important bits is that people often neglect the strength of the importance of the actual end user device in the whole cloud strategy, but I'll get to that in a minute. There's also a problem that if you're using lots of different providers, or how do you have a baseline level of security across them all that's the same? How do you know that you've got a decent level across the board? And hand in hand with that is that is there an end-to-end security model? How do you get an end-to-end security picture with lots of different providers? It becomes a bit of a challenge there, where you've got differing standards, different things you can do in different places. And then you've got the big sort of hot topic, which is how are we going to make sure our important data, our citizen data, or whatever it is, doesn't get lost, doesn't get stolen. When it's in my office, I've got in my data center, I've got a fair idea that it's still there, but in the cloud, the feeling that it's wandering around the world potentially. And that then drives into the supplier side of it. What would happen if one of our servers was hacked? How would we know about that? So what if our service provider gets hacked? And then the sub-question to that is, well, who would be responsible for that? So where's your responsibility? Where is the service provider's responsibility? And do we understand that properly? So it's really worth getting to grips with that and working out which bits is a service provider issue and which bits are yours. And then the business will say, okay, so we've got this cloud strategy, but we need to assure our clients and our customers on our board, whoever it is, the government, whatever it is, central government, how are we going to prove to people that we've got solid evidence that we're doing security properly and we're addressing the cyber threat, because that's a question you're going to get asked. And you need evidence, basically, to support that. And then there's a final issue, which is very pertinent to UK, which is where does my data reside? Whose jurisdiction? So not just the data, so the data in cloud services can potentially be not in the UK, but also the company that's providing that, where are they based? You just basically need to understand those bits in this picture and work out what types of data is it appropriate to have in which location. A lot of the time it's not going to be important, but for some types of data you need to be aware that that data should reside in the UK. And if that's the case, you need to think like that when you make a cloud decision. So against all that background of worry and business goals that are pulling against each other a bit, we've put together a set of cloud services. But really what we're talking about here is that Risual and e2e have been doing this stuff for a number of customers over a number of years and addressing these issues. And what we've done is we've worked together to create joint end-to-end services, as well as value-add e2e services that plug together to help hopefully address some of those common concerns. So on a technical level then, the first point that we really worry about in cloud is the actual device that's used to connect to the cloud. That's the laptop or the desktop or the phone or whatever it is. That's a really critical piece of the cloud puzzle. It's no good worrying about the security of your cloud provider if your laptop's really not properly built, not properly locked down, not properly encrypted. And it is quite easy to make some very big mistakes with that build. So Risual have been doing that for a long time, and they've got very, very solid builds now that implement the best practice that we've been given, but also enable you to do what you need to do. So that secures the endpoints. And then the next bit that's generally your responsibility in a cloud, depending on what level of consumption you're looking at, will be the actual server that's in the cloud. So if you took an infrastructure as a service, you could sort of be satisfied that your supplier looks after the infrastructure. But from the point that you install your operating system, that's your responsibility to secure that piece properly. And likewise, if the web server on that gets hacked, that's not your IS provider's problem. So it's really critical that you have someone who can understand how to build and secure those services. And I say Risual have been doing that with us over quite a few years now. And then the other part of this is that you need security integrated into your service wrap. You need those people to talk and understand how this works, because the two are intrinsically linked. So if your managed service providers for your desktop and your service and your Microsoft estate are linked into your security people and your people who manage your security and monitor it, that creates the kind of end-to-end service that you want, so that you've got a single point of service that delivers those two together seamlessly. Because without that, what kind of happens is that these third parties doing various different bits will basically just pass responsibility between each other. And you'll get nothing, because you'll just say, oh, it's their problem, it's our problem, that's not our problem. You need to be able to make sure that you've got a single service front end to shout at if you do have problems. So in the typical scenario here, we're talking about we deliver to the customer a hybrid cloud, because that means that we can enable their on-prem stuff, talk to their public cloud stuff, as well as maybe putting a bit of private cloud somewhere that looks after the crown jewels of their estate, which is the stuff that doesn't want to leave the UK. And then we'll typically use some of our G-Cloud services like Cloud Connect, which is a little picture on the right, which gives you an idea that it's about providing one central way to funnel all these different cloud services through a central secure service that gives you all the benefits that you want, such as security monitoring and endpoint control. And it basically closes down all your exposures, minimizes them. And then we would always recommend vulnerability assessment and scanning. So the exposure piece is all about the fact that you've got lots of new IP-based internet presence. So we recommend that whatever you do, you vulnerability scan that lot constantly. So the vulnerability assessment piece is about us scanning your IP address ranges, looking for obvious problems, big configurations, misconfigurations in Azure, people allowing root desktop from anywhere straight to desk servers and things like that, obvious things, but also looking out for the latest vulnerabilities and making sure we can hook in with your service team to patch them quickly. We do a lot of scanning of all the major cloud platforms, and it's interesting to see that over the years their attitudes have changed towards that. that they quite, there are processes now, and online, like Azure now have an online form that we can use to say we're going to vulnerability scan this customer, and you can authorize it all online, and they know us and they'll trust us to scan that customer's service. And then you need some ongoing security in this estate. So I think continuity and ongoing and keeping up with the threat are really critical messages that are enablers here, because once you're in the cloud, things can move quite quickly and things change quite quickly, and the whole dynamic nature of the whole cloud way of working means that you need to keep pace, and your security teams keep pace with it. So the end result then of all this stuff that we put together into a service wrap should hopefully manage your exposures down, contain them and monitor them. We should be able to make sure that your data is properly encrypted in transit, and identify any weaknesses in that, and also at rest. We should be able to create a blanket, unified security level across the whole cloud estate. But I think some of the key things that are also very important on the service side. Over the last few years, the security industry has recognized that there's been a move from simply detecting threats quickly to saying, actually, that's fine, but if it takes you sort of 2 or 3 minutes to detect a potential hack, or even seconds, that's great. But if it takes you 2 months to actually work out what happened and stop it, then what's the point in detecting it even quicker? So what you should be doing is focusing on what you can do when you see a problem, and we call that incident response. So when you're looking for a security service that's managing and monitoring a cloud, you need to understand that detection is part of it, but really what people need to be looking at now is how to respond. And that's about practicing responding to problems and having the data available and the tools available built into that service that can help you respond. Because the worst situation is that your service provider tells you you've got a security problem, but you've got no idea what to do about it. And other key things that you'll want to get delivered out of this, as well as that incident escalation process and a policy, is a really good document that explains your security and shows how you're aligning with the cloud security principles and all the guidelines. And then potentially you could then use all this stuff to go through things like ISO 27001, Cyber Essentials Plus, all that stuff internally. And that will give you the evidence you need when you're talking to your suppliers, partners, high-level government, to say that yes, we're doing this properly, securely, and we've enabled hopefully big savings in terms of cash. That's pretty much it for what I've got to say around a typical example of how we deliver some security to cloud services. I'm going to hand back over to Stacey now, just as we talk through the last steps of this webinar.
Hi, thanks Rob. Before we move on to next steps, we haven't had any questions, so I'm just going to invite everyone to send any of their questions in if they have any. No? Okay. So next steps for this are, as Rob was saying, what we'd like to do is offer a number of different steps. So we're going to be organising a cloud security demonstration at the visual offices, which will be a one-to-many demonstration where it will be quite generic, and we'll be able to talk to a lot of people and talk around a lot of different subjects. So we'll be contacting you around that. What we can also do is we can arrange a online demonstration, which will be a one-to-one thing over the internet. And we can also do a cloud security workshop, which will be a half-day workshop with e2e and risual coming to your site and actually having a look and assessing your cloud needs and goals. So there's 3 different options there that Risual will be contacting you about. You can also contact us, so it will be staceyw@risual.com, or the telephone number 07945 380 009, which will get sent out with the recording, or you can contact e2e on the following email, which will be rob.domain, DEMAIN, @e2e/ agile.com. What we'll do is we'll send all those contact details out so you're able to contact the relevant people, and we will be following this up with a call to try and book those things in with you. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for the time, but also to just again invite any questions that anyone may have. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you to e2e for the webcast, and we will be contacting you in the next week or so with following information. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.